Ralph just talked a great deal about First Five, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the First Five organizations, in 1987, I believe it was, Prop 10 was adopted by the voters of California, and it established the California First Five Commissions, and in every county there is a First Five Commission. And these organizations have been responsible in the ensuing years for literally putting out, donating, putting forward tens and tens of millions of dollars in tobacco funds that have gone to programs for early childhood education for our youth and for education in general and children's health. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the Executive Director of First Five Monterey County, one of the most patient, calm, and quiet ladies I know, and if she had been captain of the Titanic, it would have missed that iceberg. Francine Rodd.
Wow, it's great to see so many people here and to see the interest in this topic that is near and dear to my heart, and I hope now near and dear to yours. I'm actually going to yield the bulk of my time to a video that really helps to sum up what we have seen this morning and where we're going with the Early Childhood Development Initiative that connects all of these dots together. Okay. And I'll get out the way. I know I'm small, so you can still see anyway, but...
In the richest nation in the world, our children's well-being, measured across multiple dimensions, ranks 19th out of 20 rich nations. Why that is, and what we can do about it, matters to this child, to all of our children, and to the future of our society.
We talk a good game in this country about being family friendly, but in providing for economic and social needs of families, we are woefully behind other countries.
Want to show Daddy a book?
In today's day, we all got to work. And I can remember back in like my grandfather's days, you know, the men were, the woman stay home and take care of the house and, you know, family, thing like that. In today's day, it surely can't happen. Everybody got to go and work and, you know what I'm saying, bring it in.
Very good. Yeah, you're going to show Daddy
Yeah, he works a split shift. So like 2 in the afternoon to 1, 2 in the morning. I'm on nights this week. And so the next week though, I'll be on days.
Americans now work more hours than every other rich nation, yet the middle class is shrinking. Social mobility is less than it was 50 years ago. And most damning, 1 in 4 of our children is born into poverty.
David, you know, tomorrow's a really hectic day. I have a training. I have to be there at 9 o'clock.
70% of our children are growing up in families headed by working parents.
I bring work home with me, and it's not required. It's just what I do so that I don't feel as overwhelmed.
Things just barely work out. Like feeling security, I don't really know what that feels like, to feel like, all right, we're good.
That way, no, you silly girl.
I wake up in the morning and I'm on.
Where's my other child?
And then I go to work and I'm on.
You have a good day, little one.
And then I come home and then I'm on until the kids go to sleep.
There's 4 different places that everyone needs to be in.
It's too much. I can't do it.
Our policies actually actively discourage parents from being able to take care of those kids well in their prenatal months, in their early years, and getting them ready for school.
Among the world's richest nations, the United States is the only country that fails to provide guaranteed paid maternal leave on the birth of a child.
It took 9 years to get unpaid leave. That's disgusting.
40% of all American mothers are working within 3 months of their baby's birth. Some because they want to, most because they have to.
our child care expenses now that we have a second child. It's way more than we spend on our mortgage.
Among rich nations, our child care ranks 16th in affordability, 22nd in quality.
I picked him up one day and I went to change him and his bum was bleeding. So we left there right at that point.
We rank 31st in availability of child care.
So this is our wait list, and this is the wait list just for infants and toddlers.
If I'm not there, I'm entrusting someone else to keep her safe, to teach her, to help her grow in all areas, developmentally, spiritually, because we can't do it alone, you know.
Once you imagine that every family stands on its own, you're really making it impossible to create a national vision of everyone doing well together.
A lot of us buy into this idea that a parent is the one responsible for their child's development and their outcomes.
Go ahead, Willie. What are you thankful for?
But let's just step back for a moment and just look at what exactly the reality is for a child. So you have a child who's an individual with their biology and their genetics and their personality characteristics. And they're nested in their family, their peers, their close social relationships. But that is nested within another level, which is your school, your community institutions, your neighborhood. And that level is nested within our culture, our laws, our policies, our social structures, our systems. As a society, where do we see the role of our policies? Isn't part of that role to help children to grow and develop?
The business community of the United States has always shaped the big policy priorities of the country, the big political priorities of the country. The lobbying power of the next generation is next to nil. And as a consequence, our society steadily and relentlessly underinvests in kids. We shouldn't be surprised if so many of our children arrive at kindergarten unready to begin school. And we shouldn't be surprised that so many of our kids can't graduate from high school.
In 1970, the United States was number 1 in the world in high school and college graduation rates. Today, we've fallen to 15th in college completion, 21st in high school graduation.
High school graduation rate, we know, is strongly related to things that occur long before high school.
Can you write your name?
My name starts with an A.
There's your A.
So reading in 3rd grade, the reading level is a strong predictor of whether or not you're going to graduate from high school. Well, what predicts reading in 3rd grade? The number of words you know when you're between the ages of 2 and 3. Oh, so what predicts the number of words you know when you're 2 or 3 years old? Are you happy? So we can keep tracking back.
See the doctor?
Beginning from the moment of birth, 700 new synapses are being formed every single second in all parts of the brain that basically become the architecture and the foundation of who we are as people.
We know that effect, but so they took away nesting material.
Exciting new neuroscience research makes it clear. Early experiences get under our baby's skin and can alter the wiring of their developing brains, for better or for worse.
So you can see these processes in mice, you can see these processes in monkeys, and in the human data too, in young kids.
Very few of us remember what we experienced when we were babies or toddlers. But the brain remembers, the body remembers.
At a biological level, how does something that happens to you so early in life stick with you, persist forever, for a lifetime?
Everything kind of starts from the bottom up. don't do it right early, it's harder later. We pay more for it later, and we don't get as good an outcome.
The evidence is in. When we increase the time, income, and resources for parents and caregivers of young children, we help build a solid foundation for lifelong development, better learning, earning, and physical and mental health.
Not just one study, there are actually 4 independent longitudinal studies on early ed, all getting very, very high annual rates of return. Most of these benefits are public benefits.
The part of this argument that I like the most is the social equality aspect of it. What's socially fair is also economically efficient. So if you were a government or somebody asking, where should I put my money? In the stock market or in a young child? You'd say, in a young child. Because you're going to get a bigger payback in terms of earning a young child, in terms of reduced crime, reduced incarceration, reduced litany of social problems.
If you were to ask, what really matters for kids when they're very young? I mean, what do we all want for our children? We want them to be happy and healthy and thriving. We want them to be growing and learning and being all they can be. This is a core value that we all share. The problem is that we don't all share a commitment to that for everybody's kids.
Box and socks, our game is done.
There's never been a societal problem or issue where we have had so much information and done so little with it. Between the neuroscience and the economic literature, it's just this explosion of information that no one is disputing, but we're still not acting on it.
Okay, you want me to review how we need to have right now?
We don't just have an achievement gap in this country, we have a policy gap.
We need to be investing in the early years.
That is a series, PBS series, that's going to be coming out in 2014, and there are going to be 5 episodes. 1 episode is already available, and we're going to be previewing it, and all of you, whether you know it or not, will be getting an email after this event to let you know about the preview of that and some other exciting things that are happening relating to this early childhood development initiative. So from this morning, it seems as if there are really sort of 3 themes that I think that have come across. One is that data and information is critical. And I know I learned some things today that I certainly didn't know before. How many other people learned some things today that they didn't know before? That relationships matter. If you think back on your own childhood, you think about the people who meant the most to you, who mentored you throughout your life, you recognize that it was a relationship that was built on love, on trust, on someone really believing in you, and that relationships are at the core of everything that we do. The third is that there's really no single bullet, single silver bullet, or a single thread that's the answer, but that we heard from the campaign on third grade reading level, that there are a number of best practices out there that we can all look at and use and work together, that we can start to weave those things together to build a wonderful blanket of support for our children and our families and our communities. So that's exactly what the Early Childhood Development Initiative is all about. The visit of Nobel laureate James Heckman, who you saw in the video, in this very room in March of 2012, ignited a fire in our county that has continued to grow. And thanks to this event and the literacy campaign, is also magnifying as well. The Monterey Rotary and other groups sponsored that event. Then in September of 2012, the Monterey County Children's Council launched an initiative with quite a bit of help from the Board of Supervisors, and really thanks to the chair, Ray Bullock, who's the director of the Department of Health. They launched the Early Childhood Development Initiative. I'm a co-chair of that initiative, and my co-chair, Dr. Edward Moreno, is here as well. Will you stand up, Dr. Moreno? There he is. So ECDI, as we affectionately call it right now, I think we need a better name, how about you, is looking to work on two levels in the two levels. One is countywide on policy levels, like you heard today, that we need policies to really change some of the ways that we're thinking about and working with children. The other is at the local level. And that's where a lot of the work that you all will do if you stay for the call to action will come in terms of starting to think about at the local level, how do we really develop some solutions to these problems that we've heard about today. So working with organizations like the Literacy Campaign, community groups, businesses, policy leaders, local leaders, families, governments, and non-governmental entities, ECDI is going to work with local communities to identify and use local solutions, local assets, to build critical relationships, to weave together solutions, the local threads, like a blanket for the betterment of the children in our society. Our local data is stark. And as you can see here, only 24% of children in Monterey County, based upon our own local kindergarten readiness assessment, are socially and emotionally ready for kindergarten. And this slide shows that in different sectors, we're even less ready. Mathematically, only 16%, self and social, 24%, self-regulation, 24%, and language and literacy, 23%. If we disaggregate that and look at the low-performing, low-API schools, it's even lower. So only 13% of the children in low-API, low-income schools are ready for kindergarten. This document that you have at your table, which is the key findings, shows that information. What we also know, though, is that children who participate in programs that were funded by First 5 Monterey County do better in terms of their achievement than their counterparts in low-income, low-performing schools. Still not great, and still a little bit less than the countywide average of 20% at 19%, but they do much better than their counterparts in their low-performing areas. In terms of licensed childcare, it's available only for 20% of children who have parents in the workforce. Infant and toddler care, 5%. Only 52% of parents in Monterey County read daily or show picture books to their children daily. Now, on your tables, there's some books that were donated by First 5 Monterey County. At the end of the day, I'm hoping they're all gone, and that at a minimum, some of you have decided you're going to take those and read them to a child. This statistic here is pretty sad because it shows the difference between those that were reading daily to children and those that were watching television and videos with their children. We know that there is a 30 million word gap between the haves and the have-nots, and that by age 3, the vocabulary of a child can predict how they're going to perform in 3rd grade. At 18 months, gaps already begin to show. Only 33% of children in Monterey County are reading at the proficient or advanced levels by 3rd grade. Now, we heard a lot about how that's not just the responsibility of the schools, it's all of our responsibilities, and we all need to be held accountable, and they're all our children. 27% of mothers in Monterey County receive late or no prenatal care. And 38% of mothers in Monterey County have less than a high school education. So we really need to work on these numbers, and we really need to work together to ensure that we are making a difference. As you heard from the previous presentations, there are proven solutions, and moving the needle on these numbers is possible. We just need to work together to make it happen. The other thing at your tables is this handout that has some information on it about the Early Childhood Development Initiative and in terms of the brain growth and brain development. And what we know is that By age 3 really is where the fastest growth happens in the brain, and 85% to 90% of the brain is already developed by age 5. On the other side is information about the next steps in this process. We are going to be having regional meetings to discuss how we can move the needles on these indicators, how we can change these statistics together. And you'll see the dates on the bottom on the right-hand side. It's one of your opportunities and the next steps to help make this process work. So, and we'll also be sending you out emails as well to let you know about the next steps. So if you're clear from what you've heard today that the status quo won't do, these are our children, they're our responsibility, and it makes sense for all of us to work together, and that the time is now, we invite you to help and work with us to move those needles, to weave those individual threads of local solutions, to sew a blanket of prosperity for all of us.